Joe Gomez came off within 10 minutes of the of the preseason game, and he is unfortunately the player that just cannot seem to get a run not even just a run. He just doesn't seem to even get 90 minutes. Is he a player that should still be amongst the Liverpool team as a player? And also, as a human being, what do you think Joe Gomez is actually going through as we speak?
I want to start on the human side of it first. Now, I'm speaking it from experience, and that's why I wanted to go first. For somebody who's now in a wheelchair, but when I could walk, I had multiple operations every year for about 9 years to keep me walking. And I know the mental toll that took on me. And I still ended up in a wheelchair. Now, I know this is very different to a footballer, but he still goes through a lot of injuries, and he's having that recovery time to get back to then have another injury. And knowing what I went through, I can't imagine how that is for him when that's also his livelihood, his passion. So I really do feel sorry for the guy. But football's football, and it's a business about winning games, and we need a team that can stay fit. So without sounding callous, and I know this is going to cut deep with Big T, if I was in charge of Liverpool, no disrespect to Gomez, I love him, he's a great player, but sadly his injury-prone career he's riddled with it, and every season it's the same thing. He comes back, he plays 3 or 4 games, he's out again. You can't sustain that, and that's why for me I think it's time to sell him, and maybe a change would do him good as well. So that's really my take on it. I think if I was in charge, I would sell him, but purely because you can't have too many players in that position. Yes, he can play central defender and if you had a fit Joe Gomez, there's no way you would ever get rid of him. He'd be at the club probably until his legs gave out, but sadly they gave out seasons ago. And I do really, really feel sorry for the guy.
It's a shame that we've got such a good defender in Joe Gomez. We've seen it when he's played. He's been stalwart, whether he's playing the right back or in the centre of defence. He will stick his foot in. He's good in the air. He's knowledgeable. He can pass the ball. He has an issue, obviously, a major issue with his injuries. And like Paul said, mentally wise, how is that affecting him on a day-to-day basis? Because we all know, Paul's mainly played basketball when he was in the wheelchair, but us playing, who've played football, and I played football for just under 40 years. Getting an injury and then coming back from an injury and having that period of recuperation, because you still have to live your life. So even just, if it's a leg injury or whatever, just walking around the house is painful and difficult. But to get to that level of a professional footballer where he's constantly in, out, something in his mind at some point has got to turn around and say to himself, is it time to retire? Is it time to look at maybe going into coaching where he doesn't have to worry about the injury side of things? He's got the knowledge, he's got the experience of being around so many great players that we've had at Liverpool and in England, but he's for England when he's played for England on the odd occasion. But I don't know. I think maybe it's time he just hung his boots up. I don't even think selling him on for a start. Who's going to want to buy him? Yes, it will be a low amount of money, but then they're going to have the problem of buying a player that they know is constantly injured. So
would a different environment change anything, do you think, Kev?
No, because football's still football, isn't it? Okay, where he's playing will be different. The people around him, the environment will be different, but football's still football. If he's still running, like last night, his injury wasn't because of a tackle.
Yeah, if I just think of spitting out a few names, we brought in Thiago injury prone. Very rarely saw him. We brought in Oxlade-Chamberlain. 3 great months, got injured, very rarely saw him. And Joe Gomez is exactly the same.
You've got
I
to
said,
start to wonder why we're buying these players in
mm,
are injury prone.
mm,
Okay, they may be great players when they're playing on the pitch,
yeah,
but you have to look at their injury record, and if you can see that they've got a list of these recurring injuries, why are we going for them? Doesn't make sense.
I think if we didn't have Connor Bradley in the team as well, that's injury prone, then I would say, you keep Gomez about, you're going to get yourself a solid right back who can stay fit, and hopefully when Gomez, you can bit part use him here and there. But unfortunately, we have 2 right backs that are injury prone, and another right back in Frimpong who has dodgy hamstrings, and I just think that position out of the whole squad is where I'd put my most attention to.
I really feel for Joe Gomez. I truly believe this. I think injuries have robbed us of one of the better centre-backs of Liverpool's Premier League era. And also for England, a player who at times looked so comfortable at this level, so kind of assured within himself and his own ability that he could be what we're talking about, a really stellar centre-back. And the fact that he's also able to play both full-back positions to a great level says a lot about him. I would have sold him, or at least looked to move him on, had it not been for the fact that it's his last season at Liverpool. I think if he had 2 or 3 more years on his contract, you kind of look at it and say, well, look, we can't be continuously paying this out. Where it is at the minute, we're already quite short in that position. Should we lose another player, even if that player only gives us 10 games in the season, at that level, somebody who knows the club, somebody who is experienced, would be a big loss. From my understanding as well, he's great around the dressing room. He's great in training. He's somebody that a lot of players have a lot of time for. He's a really lovely individual from everything that I've heard about him. So overall, you can't help but feel just sorry for the lad. I do think keeping him is probably in his best interest. And maybe, as Kev mentions, at the end of this season, does he look to say that his time at football has come to an end and he retires as a legend in the sense of the what could have been legend for Liverpool? But yeah, ultimately it's such a shame for him, for Liverpool and for England that it's gone down the way that it has, because we're talking about a real talent here.
He's in his last contract. So he's in his last year of his contract. Do Liverpool owe him anything outside of that? And I know Paul and Kev spoke about possibly having some sort of coaching role, but do Liverpool owe him that?
No, I don't think Liverpool owe any player anything. As long as they're treated right, looked after, they're trained when they're fit, he earns his money, okay, by playing games and training. You've got the medical backup there for him, and you've got the training facilities and everything else. Okay, he's been loyal to the club. Great, not a problem with that whatsoever. But that's his job. His job is to play football for Liverpool or whoever it is that he deems that he wants to play for. And as long as the club are providing him with the necessary tools and backup and help and guidance and things like that, the club doesn't owe a player anything.
No. I think financially the club don't owe him nothing at all. But I know from interviews with Steven Gerrard, he's always said since retirement, whenever he's needed anything and the club can help him, he's never gone any deeper than that in what he meant, but the club have always been there for him. And I think the club would do that for any of our ex-players. So I think, big respect for them for that. But financially, no. I mean, he's on a decent wage anyway. And, it's not his fault that he's injury prone, but he's getting paid a vast amount of money to sit there and recuperate and train and, so I don't feel sorry for him in a financial way, but I certainly feel sorry for him as a human being and not being able to play the sport he loves. Because, funny enough, as you know, through WhatsApp earlier, I was reminiscing about my basketball days, and it kills me inside watching those videos back, doing something that I know I can't do now. So big respect for him on the human side of things.
Okay, could I just clarify one thing? I just have to look now. For the 2026-2027 season, he is on £85,000 a week.
Not a bad chunk
so
of change.
He's putting in £4.4 million a year. Now, the majority of his time is spent on the, either on the bench or in the recovery room, injury, whatever. That's a lot of money to pay for a player that's just constantly injured. Obviously not his fault, but
no. It's a very difficult subject, and I really like this question from Big T, because the four of us are sat here seeing it from a human side of things, but also as a business side of things. Now, if you're running a football club and you're paying someone £85,000 a week to do a job they're not doing, then you're not getting value for money, are you?
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
And this is, like as said, it comes to a point where I think you have to cut your losses, wish him all the best in his future. Whether he finds another club or not, I don't think. Obviously, I think the club would always try and help him find another club. But if he can't and it's not happening for him, like Kev said, maybe he's just got to say, look, it's time to hang my boots up. I'll go into coaching or punditry or whatever. Sadly, it does happen to footballers. Not everyone gets to live a football career from a young age into their late 30s, and if you're lucky, 40s. It just doesn't happen, does it? So,
well,
for whatever reason...
football is a business. Okay. So should we be looking at these players any different to any business that have staff?
Yeah.
Because if you were in a work environment and you were constantly out ill, or you had physical issues or whatever, which was deeming you can't work for a period of time, then come back and they'd be able to go back in, and you were constantly like that, and you were being paid £85,000 a week.
Yeah.
That company would not keep you on. They would maybe do everything they could to help you, but eventually they're going to get rid.
Yeah. I mean, if he's only featuring of maybe a third of a season, if we're lucky, for the last how many years now? 3, 4?
Yeah.
That's not a good return on your investment, is it?
Not when you're looking at £4 million a year. So you're looking at over 3 years, £12 million, and he's only played a third of those games. Potentially, you're looking at a third of the money that he really should, I guess, have earned.